This is University Radio Bath.
Good morning. Welcome to A&E Politics on this freezing Friday.
Freezing Friday morning.
I'm Emily, and I'm here with...
I'm Adam. We're back with less me channel this week.
Yes.
So there's less loud boop, 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 boop,
booping, yeah.
Yeah, it's always good.
And we have two guests in the studio with us today.
Hello.
We've got Bailey,
Hi.
a returning guest,
Friend of the pod.
Back by popular
Happy to be
demand.
here.
and my lovely housemate, Lexi.
Hello, everyone. Should I introduce myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a second-year student in international management, and I also happen to be French. So I'll be giving you kind of an external point of view
Our foreign
on British
correspondent.
politics.
Yes. Our EU correspondent, Lexi, there. So, yeah, let's
Let's get on with the show.
That is a disgrace.
You're reassured, I'm reassured.
Not another one.
Mistakes were made.
Peppa Pig world.
Thinks he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. The truth is he's Jabba the Hutt.
He lived rent-free in his head.
Tofu eating, wokarati.
Hello and welcome back. So anyone listening live today, well done, because apparently the website's all down. So we might have about one person as opposed to our normal 7. So hello and welcome. So today we're going to be discussing quite a lot of things, British politics, American politics, and then we've got some games to play a little bit later, and we might touch on some what's been happening in the World Cup and stuff. So without further ado, let's get straight on with...
What on earth is going on in the House of Commons?
Fantastic. So, the UK government is attempting to pass a Bill of Rights, reforming the law relating to human rights in the UK. We have an uncodified constitution, so we have no statutory set of rights like an American system. They always talk about their Bill of Rights. So what our current government is trying to do is impose a Bill of Rights onto us, as opposed to using the ECHR, which is the European Court of Human Rights. So the ECHR, as I just said, is what governs rights in the UK at the moment. It's not part of the EU. It's kind of it's an European body which protects rights for citizens across Europe. And what this current Bill of Rights is trying to do is take the authority away from this European court and give it back to UK courts. And it's a kind of initiative pushed forward by the current Justice Secretary Dominic Raab and obviously the current government. So what has been happening what's the ECHR done this year, Emily? Notably, which would annoy the government and make them not want to...
so that's the thing, is it's not... They're passing this Bill of Rights for the ulterior motive that the Rwanda policy, of course, the famous, let's just ship people off to that safe place, Rwanda.
We love a bit of Rwanda.
So the government had, was it 7 people on a £500,000
Eventually ended up being
plane.
1, didn't it? I think it was 1.
But the ECHR then grounded that flight and said it cannot go because it goes against human rights.
Yeah.
And so the government have gone, right, well, if we're not allowed to do this because the ECHR says no, then we'll just leave the ECHR and just come up with our own human...
it's a good tactic. And also, I think it's worth pointing out, the ECHR didn't even say that this flight is illegal. The ECHR said... Because the UK courts are currently looking into whether or not it's illegal because it breaks international law potentially. Like that's what they're looking into. The ECHR said you can't take the flight until the UK courts decided.
Yeah.
So they didn't even rule on whether or not it was illegal. No. They just said wait for the UK courts. So this idea that we need to take power back from the ECHR and put it into UK courts. And this is the government that was trying to bypass UK courts anyway because the UK court haven't made a ruling yet, because obviously court rulings take a long time. I think we know that. So the bill also reduces the power of citizens to hold government to account. It would make, this is a quote, it would make it harder for people to bring human rights claims by introducing a permission stage, requiring them to prove that they suffered significant disadvantage. The government says this is necessary to weed out trivial cases. So this, obviously the bill hasn't passed yet, it's currently in the second reading of but this would potentially make it harder for people in the UK to protect their own rights, which, again, this is an opinion show. There's definitely the people who use the court system and kind of waste time in the court system by doing kind of fraudulent cases and stuff, but I would argue that this bill, and we shouldn't leave the ECHR, because I think the kind of protection we get as citizens from the ECHR is much, much more important and better than this Bill of Rights will give, for quite a few reasons. Because it's kind of a bit of a rant now from me, but we have an uncodified constitution, which means that and also our parliament is sovereign, which means our parliament can rule on anything at any time. So it doesn't take a massive majority of MPs in the House of Commons to overturn an individual right. Perfect examples of this are when we had terrorists. I'm using air quotes, obviously it's not, you can't see that, but I'm using air quotes. We had terrorists in the UK, and we usurped the right to free trial for them because we wanted to put them straight into prison. And I think that, and setting aside the kind of ethics of that, because they were alleged terrorists and stuff, but taking away people's human rights that easily, I don't think should be an option. And something the ECHR does that the Bill of Rights would not do is allows the other courts from other places to supersede our legislative, and our legislative supersedes the UK courts.
Yeah.
So I think it's a negative.
Yeah, no, and it just feels like a kind of advancement on all this Euro-scepticism. It's like, just because it's got the word European in the title, our government are like, we hate you, you're trying to restrict us. It's like, no, it's so...
It brings
petty.
a whole new meaning to Brexit means Brexit, because this is not part of the EU. We joined this before we joined the EU. Nothing to do with the EU. There's members of this court who aren't part of the European Union. So it's a completely, it's just this kind of anti-Europe culture war that we've really kind of engaged into.
Like the xenophobia
really
just continues, even when it's a good thing.
Fundamentally.
Brexit means Brexit.
Brexit means Brexit. It means leaving every single EU institution, and
except Eurovision.
Except Eurovision, we must stay.
I guarantee we're going to quit out of that at some point.
We're hosting it.
No,
we're hosting it, but only pity because Ukraine currently is unable to host it.
You're starting Project.
No, I'm a big fan of Eurovision.
I love it.
So basically, we're going to move on in a moment to what's actually in this Bill of Rights.
Yes.
So we talked about why it's a negative, but before we do that, I want to play this clip of. Which I think kind of sums up the whole European project and Nigel Farage's opinions on it. If you were listening last week, you know that we're not the biggest fans on this opinion show about Nigel Farage. And there was this a couple of years ago now, there's this caller on LBC who had a conversation with Nigel Farage, and it is, I think, very, very funny. So I'm going to play this clip for you now.
A bit sorry for Boris, Mark, or not?
That's where I've been for the last few years. I've got to say, I'm immensely grateful to you for everything you've done in British politics over the last few years. I used to be an ardent Remainer. I voted Remain. I believed in the European project. Mm-hmm. I believed that staying in the European Union was the best thing for us. And then something happened, and something monumental happened. It completely changed my opinion on the whole situation.
What was that monumental thing, Mark?
I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Right, very good. Okay.
I just wanted to bring that clip in because I think it's hilarious.
It is funny. It is funny.
It's just a brilliant 1-2 on Farage because he's like, oh, what's the one you would think?
Is it me? Did I change your life?
I changed your opinion. It's like, no, kicked in the head by a horse. Excellent.
So funny. So British. Just that makes me proud to be British.
Exactly.
Everything else.
Attitude.
Because you're like, at the start, you're like, oh no, here we go, another Brexit believer, and then
another one.
Another one. But yeah, exactly. So, what's actually in this Bill of Rights? So, the Bill of Rights, controversially for the government, but clearly the bare minimum for kind of civil liberties, includes abortion access as a human right, which, we all agree that is the case. But for the Conservative Party, which has members like Jacob Rees-Mogg, who coincidentally is actually the MP for this area.
This currently, right now, where we are sitting
in Jacob Rees-Mogg's constituency,
did you
Bath,
not know?
in North East Somerset.
No, I thought it was Lydia.
No, she's for Bath. We are not in Bath right now.
She gets surrounded by Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Yeah, which is not a position. You don't want to be surrounded by Jacob Rees-Mogg, but his opinions on abortion are archaic. We have a clip of Jacob Rees-Mogg talking about how he thinks, and he's asked, and you'll hear it in the clip, he's asked a direct question about whether abortion should be allowed in the case of rape and incest, and have a listen to his response.
It is the greatest sadness that the number of abortions that take place each year take place.
Would he support the rights of women to choose to have an abortion were they a victim of rape or incest?
I think the destruction of life is wrong. I do not believe that you should say that a new life should be destroyed. I do not believe that is the right of the state.
So, I think the male opinion on abortion is over talked about. So I'm going to kind of hand the floor a little bit to my co-hosts here. But I just think, obviously, completely abhorrent views and this kind of attitude that women's bodies and lives are the control and under the control of the of what men and our control is. I think just such an abhorrent view, and it's kind of coming back in a really dangerous way this year.
Yeah.
And I think we're all thinking about it happening in America, I think, and with the overturn of Roe v. Wade and the abortion access in America now not being guaranteed, I think we all kind of pat ourselves in the back for the fact that we live in a country where we kind of all agree on abortion, but the people that are in power in America overturning these rights have access to power here in the exact same way, because Jacob Rees-Mogg was Energy Secretary under the last government.
Yeah, I think our cultures are so linked that anything that happens in America does have an effect here. I don't
think it's even just Britain, it's all over the world.
Yeah, like America's culture is so just
predominant.
Yeah, worldwide. Yeah. But I do also think that it is a bigger problem in the US than it is here. But that being said, that it isn't a problem here. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want to talk about it here, and I do think people like Jacob Rees-Mogg, he is irrelevant. Like, people are giving him a platform to have an opinion on something that he just, it doesn't matter. Obviously it's an awful opinion, but like, I just think people are letting him say stuff for the sake of having him say stuff when it's not up to him. And what power does he really have over this?
There's this dangerous little sect, I think, of the Conservative Party and the Conservative membership base, which sees Jacob Rees-Mogg as quite a funny figure and a non-dangerous one, a non-threatening one, because he dresses like he's still in the 1930s.
Yeah.
He talks in a very, very kind of stereotypical British way, but his views are properly dangerous, and this man has genuine access to power.
Well, I just want to cut in and say I don't think that we're thinking of it in the right way in terms of blaming America. Like, if we look at Northern Ireland, for example,
that's true.
October 2019, if Stormont hadn't collapsed, people in Northern Ireland wouldn't be able to get an abortion or a same-sex marriage licence. And also they still can't to this day, because you still have the DUP, or the Sinn Féin is doing much better. I don't think it's as far off an issue as people think it is. Like, it definitely is an element of this American superculture. I think it was that MP that came out recently that said, oh, maybe we need to be having the discussion about it.
Yeah.
But it definitely is the case with, I think, the Conservative Party, where they do have this weird ability to be able to put forward some progressive legislation despite the fact that the majority of their members are opposed to it. I mean, if you look at the Same-Sex Marriage Act 2014, they were against it. The majority was against it in the Conservative Party. If it wasn't for all the Labour MPs, Caroline Lucas in her little green seat in Brighton,
I love Caroline Lucas.
It wouldn't have gotten through. But it's credited to David Cameron.
And I think, Lexi, France have been doing something right, haven't they?
I think there's a lot of talk going on around abortion since Roe versus Wade. It's not only in the US, but also all around Europe. We can know, like in Malta, for instance, abortion is still not legal. It has been made much harder in Poland recently. And so all this talk about making abortion legal and writing it in the Bill of Rights, for instance, in the UK, we can also find it in France. So there was a law proposal for the right to abortion to be listed in the Constitution, opposed to as just in the law, that has just been voted by our chamber. So I think it's really showing a will to consider this as a basic human right, opposed to women's rights. And I think that it's really important to make this distinction kind of between human and women's rights, because like it's just like a basic need that they're considering. And so enshrining it in the Constitution would be considering it as an individual freedom, opposed to right.
See, I do find it quite difficult to like talk about abortion, not because just because it seems so mad to me that people care that much about other, like, if I just think look, if you don't want to have an abortion, don't have one, and if you do, then do. And I find it so ridiculous that this man who dresses like a Victorian has children whose names are about 10 words long, thinks that it's his place to have an opinion on what half the population can do. I find it so just strange.
It's also just I think part of right wing, often again opinion show politics is often seemingly, especially at the moment, about kind of dividing, and it's patriarchy has been a feature of capitalism for a long time, and I think the right wing, who are benefiting massively from this system, want to keep pushing it in the same way, because you can't have pushing child rearing onto women also pushes women into the home, because it does, because they have to have the child. Obviously the husband or the man in this relationship can take care of the child once it's born, but there's a certain level of where the woman has to take time out to take care of the baby, or to give birth to the baby, has to take time out because of what she's the major biological event she's going through, and that pushes women away from the kind of capitalist masculine labour. But the problem that these people, again, opinion show, always kind of forget is that without that side, this kind of invisible economy, we wouldn't have if we didn't have mothers, none of us would be here. If we didn't have people who took the time out to raise us as people, we wouldn't be able to join the workforce when we're older. And this kind of segregation of man's world and woman's world, and pushing women into the home and the domestic labour of having children, and forcing them to have children because they don't have a right to healthcare, is part of this old system of capitalism where it's very men dominated and trying to control women's bodies in lots of ways.
I think it's definitely what you said about an old system. I think it is traditionally the nuclear family from a neoliberal capitalist society is the best family model. You've got the male worker, the female worker at home, and then the two kids, they raise them. It's a mobile unit. They can move across the country depending on where he has to go to work. We are in a society now where you need both mum and dad to go to work, and they still can't pay their heat and electricity bills. You've got the female worker working and spending all her wage just on childcare costs. I think it speaks, this abortion issue speaks to the fact that the right wing, of course this is an opinion show, and this is my opinion, it just shows that right wing ways of thinking, they don't work anymore.
No.
Yeah, I think all the discussion around abortion and people being against it is killing babies or fetuses or whatever, and never really considering the whole impact of having a child on a woman's life in general.
Well, on anyone's life.
It's a major medical event as well. Also, something that I find really annoying about this conversation is, not this particular conversation, but the conversation about abortion, is everyone agrees that it's if someone's raped or it's incest, then they shouldn't, everyone should have a right to abortion there. Everyone should have a right to abortion anyway. Even if you just don't want to use contraception, you should have a right to an abortion, because it's your body and you can choose what to do with it. And the fact that we prioritise the lives of embryos, which aren't life yet, over the very, very real impacts that this would have on people and the person who currently exists in the world, is massively, massively offensive. Because obviously people who've been raped should have a right to abortion, but so should every single woman, so should every single person who's able to have a child. That it's not a question of no one should have abortions, they should just use contraception and stuff unless they're raped, and then they should be able to access abortion, because there's so many reasons why people should be able to have access to abortion. But one of the main ones that I think we often don't talk about is because they want one. And that's fine too. They should be allowed to have that right.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to justify because this is the thing. It's these are the exceptions, blah 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 blah. You have to justify this, because then there's almost a kind of inherent shame if you're having to come up with a reason that's good enough to deserve one. Then there's a shame attached with that. Yeah, it should just be, if you want to have one, have one.
Yeah, and
if you don't, then don't, right. And just leave everyone else alone. And it's it makes me so just annoyed.
I just feel we're only considering the impact on the woman's body and not on the woman's life enough. So everyone's saying your body, your choice, but I want to say so your life that's going to be impacted for ages after that. And that needs to be taken into consideration. And all the pressure that is in society around motherhood and women needing to have children just really needs to shift, in my opinion.
Yeah,
no, I like that opinion.
That's a good opinion. It's an opinion show, and we agree with this opinion.
Yes. Yay.
So we briefly touched on how kind of America's talked, like we all know about the Dobbs decision, which is the decision the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. I just want to point out that this kind of civil liberty in America has won every single ballot measure in the midterms, even in states like Kansas and Arkansas, which are very, very Republican. They had abortion ballot measures on, which would basically protect the right to abortion in those states, because what the Supreme Court did is they haven't said you can't have an abortion. They've just overturned the federal, which is like the big government, the Joe Biden, the kind of Congress one. They've turned away the big government right that guarantees abortion. So what they've said now is each individual state can choose. It's like the equivalent of your local council deciding whether you can have an abortion. So some states have abortion bans, some don't. Kansas, for example, had an abortion ban, but since they've passed this measure, then they're going to put the constitutional right to an abortion into the individual state constitution, and it just shows that I think that even these people who I would disagree on most things, these are still people who voted for Republicans, people who tried to overturn the last election, people who agreed with Donald Trump's, in my opinion, massively racist rhetoric, still believe that women should have the right to an abortion. It's really an issue that we shouldn't talk about anymore, because I mean that's the thing.
Sometimes with the Conservatives, it just feels like they're going, right, well, we haven't said anything controversial for a while, so what have we not talked about for a few years, and we'll just bring that back up just to piss everyone off.
It's the only thing they can do, though. Have you noticed every time there's an election, there is always the issue of migration and immigration, and it's if you look at the numbers, you compare Tony Blair New Labour to now. Tony Blair deported more people.
Yeah. Oh.
It is a huge talking point amongst the voter bloc. It's that whole appealing to the working man thing, which of course is an opinion show, but as a sociologist with political interests, it's that kind of thing that really appeals to me. It is it's the only way for them to get it across. I mean, Brexit is a culture war issue. This trans-exclusionary, radical feminist approach is a culture issue. Can you actually give me an argument that the Conservatives can win that isn't a culture issue? Look at their economic argument under Liz Truss. They're now giving away free money with our energy bills. The problems of today, they do not have a Conservative solution for, so they've got to make up new problems.
Yeah, but remember, guys, they are a compassionate Conservative party. Yeah. They keep telling us that, so I think we should just believe them.
And they're going to deliver.
They are going
I don't know what.
Are they delivering?
They're going to deliver like Hermes, just chuck it at
chuck it over the... Oh.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, obviously it's been quite a heavy section, segment, but we'll come back and we'll talk about Nazism in America.
Wow.
So nice, and it's a nice light show today, guys.
URB.
Hello. Welcome back.
Yeah. So we're going to move on from the very, very light conversation about abortion rights in the UK and the US to generally what's going on in the US. I think we all know who President Trump was.
Who's that?
Never heard of him.
No idea who that man is.
See,
he's
in
here
the room
today. This is quite the interview.
This is incredible stuff. So over the weekend, there was quite a big storm over the fact that Donald Trump, who's now announced, as we I think covered 2 weeks ago on our show, he's running again to be president in 2024 to make America great, strong, and beautiful again. Something along those lines. It's not as good.
Could he not achieve that the first time?
No, he kind of failed.
He did. He's going to make it even greater.
But yeah, so he had dinner with Nick Fuentes, Kanye West, and a boy called Milo Yiannopoulos. Now, these three people are... I think we all know a little bit about what's going on with Kanye, so we'll touch that in a minute.
You know that game when they go, if you could have dinner with three people, who would it be? This is the most evil.
This is the dinner of hell.
Nightmare blunt rotation.
He just chose the worst three people available. So Nick Fuentes, let's go through him first, because I think he's probably the least well known from everyone here. He is a genuine... This is an opinion show, but this is just how he describes himself. He is a Nazi. He believes that we should go back to segregation eras. He has talked about Hitler being an idol. This man is a literal Nazi. He's not like a kind of someone who skirts around Nazi ideology.
Nazi,
he just believes in the idea that we should segregate society. Jews should leave America, and they should live in a kind of a fortress of white Aryan. This man was dining with the, let's be honest, because of America, potential next president of the United States. Let's not write him off, because we did that in 2016.
But also, he was the president. That's enough as it is. A president was sitting having dinner with him, and
And so there's two other people, but just on Nick Fuentes first. No, that's fine. So Nick Fuentes first. Donald Trump has refused to denounce him since, because his excuse was, "Oh, I was just having dinner with Kanye West. He didn't say anything anti-Semitic. I didn't know who he was." Since then, everyone's been saying to him, "This man is a Nazi," because he is. Opinion show, but he is. And Donald Trump has still refused to condemn him and his ideology, saying that he was nice to me and they agreed with their ideas.
Because if he condemns him, he condemns his supporters.
Well, no, exactly.
Yeah.
But he wants his votes, and this is the thing. And then also, Milo Yiannopoulos, very, very quickly, was kind of a syndicated author. He pretended, he said he was gay for multiple years, and apparently he now isn't. I think he's confusingly back and forth on this, Bailey.
Oh, I have so much to say about Milo Yiannopoulos, but he's from Kent. He went to Simon Langton in Canterbury. He was born in Chatham, where my uncle owns a pub.
Shout out to the pub.
Shout out to Chatham.
I cannot stand this man. He was expelled from Cambridge. He read English and got expelled from Wolfson College, which was the one that I went for. He got expelled from University of Manchester. But do you know how he refers to his husband that he uses to get American green card citizenship?
No.
He said in, I believe, 2017 or 2021, one of them, that he is no longer his husband. He's been demoted to housemate. So they still live together. He still claims citizenship from him. And that is how he gets to stay in the United States. An altogether horrible person.
Yeah, and if I was the husband, saying demoted to housemate, I'd be upgraded if I'm not married to you.
Also, minor enough this, just some of his quotes. He's defended adult people having relationships with 13-year-olds. So just opinion show, but he's genuinely defended paedophilia. That's just what that is.
What is wrong with people?
And then he had dinner with these two people, and obviously Kanye West. And we're going to focus on him a little bit, because when we were prepping the show this week, we hadn't seen the interview that he then did with Alex Jones. So before the interview with Alex Jones, Kanye West wore a White Lives Matter t-shirt to some concerts, and now obviously that's a kind of veiled political statement, because I think we all, again, opinion show, know that White Lives Matter already. White lives are not the ones being prosecuted on in the systemic level. Yep. He also tweeted, "I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people." He also he said that, this is all from his Twitter, "The funny thing is I can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda." It feeds into this ideology that there's the really, really anti-Semitic and awful ideology that Jews are the kind of puppet masters of the world. They're really rich and they're controlling everyone. This kind of deep state that Trump also espouses. They're controlling everything, and they're evil, and they're just greedy and money, and they just want all of this. And it's this really, really dangerous rhetoric coming from one of the most popular artists in the world. Yeah. It's Spotify Wrapped Week. I think he was in the top 5 most listened to artists in the
songs
States
are rubbish. That's my hot take of the week.
It's genuinely dangerous, and I know there's an argument about taking the art away from the artist, but this man is profiting off this, and all the people who are trying to defend Kanye, saying he's a free thinker, and he's just absolutely over the line here, being massively anti-Semitic. And that was before this current interview, and in this current interview he genuinely said, I didn't get the clip of it because I was listening to it this morning on the way up to campus today, he said, "There's a lot to like in Hitler. Hitler did not kill 6 million Jews, and the Holocaust did not happen as everyone said it was."
Yeah, I genuinely think that Kanye West has had some sort of breakdown. He needs some serious psychiatric.
Well, yeah, but that's no news.
Yeah. It's not news, but yeah,
it's a difficult, I think, conversation, because he does have, I believe, bipolar personality disorder. Yeah, but then again, you can't just say, "Oh, he's having a breakdown."
No, I'm not excusing it.
Yeah, but I'm it's this weird excuse that people are saying, "Oh, he's bipolar, so
no,
he actually doesn't think this." But that, surely, if you're having a breakdown, that doesn't excuse what he's saying. I heard someone say today that, the divorce with Kim is just finalised. This is him just trying to flex his muscles and be able to do the most outrageous thing.
People get divorced all the time and they don't.
Yeah, you don't go on
you don't have
Jones'
to. It's not part of the contract that you have to then become anti-Semitic. That's not how.
It's reminder. He literally makes Alex Jones look okay.
Alex Jones was saying to him, Alex Jones, the man who says that people who were killed in school shootings were crisis actors, this man who's been found guilty of spreading that misinformation, he was saying, you don't actually think that you're not actually a Hitler supporter. He's gone too far to the right and off the wacky train track of Alex Jones.
Yeah. Also, not Alex Jones from the One Show, I thought for quite a while.
This is the Alex Jones who didn't want them putting fluoride in the water to turn the frogs gay. This is Alex Jones who, again, he says some funny things, but he's also massively dangerous, and the harm he causes people with the kind of misinformation and vile he spreads, opinion show, is genuinely dangerous, and it's hurt so many people's lives, and including the families of the school shooting and the victims. And I just think that we need to have a proper conversation about Kanye West and the rhetoric he's about, like this kind of massively vile anti-Semitism.
Do we need to have the conversation though? Because I feel like we've had this
Just
consensus in society that if someone says something like that, you get rid of them. Yeah. But then you have the likes of Elon Musk who buy Twitter,
this is what
literally unban him after he's anti-Semitic to go.
He posted a tweet with him the other day. There's a photo of both of them together.
Well, it's absolutely ridiculous. I personally feel like we're going backwards because we have those policies in place, like the Twitter moderation team, and there are consequences. It's not cancel culture. It is literally, if you say something and then people don't want to hear it and think that it's quite offensive, you literally read the terms and conditions. You say you read them after you scroll all the way past them and don't read them. But Elon Musk, and I'll lump them in with Milo Yiannopoulos, Nick Fuentes, they're all part of the same group that are like, it's free speech, it's cancel culture, that's saying I can't say this, and it gets all their base rolled up because everyone doesn't want to feel like they're getting restricted. But you look at Kanye West, you've given him another platform, that is going to have some ramifications, and it's terrifying because who knows where it's going to be.
And the amount of people that still defend him because his music's good, and it's just, I don't know, there's a certain level of admittedly he's one of the greatest art musicians of some of those songs are fantastic, but the separation of him from what he's saying now and the people who blindly defend him because they like Champion and they like his earlier albums and his current albums, it's unacceptable. And I don't think people necessarily realise, because I think there's a lot of culture at the moment which is everyone's offended by everything. There's I'm not going to get into the kind of cancel culture, people being this kind of snowflakeness, but this is dangerous rhetoric because he has millions and millions and millions of followers. There's been people standing on bridges, spray painting signs saying Kanye's right about the Jews. This is called sarcastic terrorism. It's where rhetoric leads towards violence, because all you need is one person who's listening to this, one who's got some mental issues, mental disturbances, and they grab their gun that they're afforded by the Second Amendment and they go and shoot people. This will happen, and it has happened. This ideology is massively dangerous, and we need to stamp it out, basically.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And they're dining with the former president of the United States, who we all know was a racist opinion show, but he did say Mexicans are bringing crime and they're rapists, which is dog whistle, obviously. It's barely even dog whistle, it's like a foghorn. But and he has a genuine shot at being in power in the US again.
Side note, where did they go for dinner? Because I feel like if you're working there, you'd be like, what is going on?
They're like a far-right tapas.
No, it was in Donald Trump's.
The most bland
Where are they going?
It was in Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump's little president home away from home, which he actually spent more time in.
So it wasn't like Pizza Express in Woking, just to bring more shame to them.
No, unfortunately. But the funniest, there is something funny coming out of this, is that Kanye West came in and asked if Donald Trump wanted to be his running mate. So Kanye West is president in 2024. Kanye West was like, so the reason you're here is because I want to ask you to be my running mate. And the reporting is Donald Trump found that he got so incredibly angry at that statement, which, I mean, is funny, but also the fact that that's the bit that makes him angry is not the anti-Semitism, not the awfulness of the three people he's having dinner with, but the fact that Donald Trump is fallen so much in the public image that Kanye West is like, you should be my Mike Pence.
So do we know what was actually discussed during this dinner?
That's what they were there for.
Probably like Matt Hancock on I'm a Celeb, important topics.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's that news, and we're going to move to something slightly lighter, still to do with American politics, and then we'll play out, and then we'll do a genuinely light-hearted C block, and we'll do some nice fun games and stuff. Well, hopefully, Emily's got a game that I haven't actually played it yet. We'll see. So their midterms were last month. We talked about them briefly on the show before. There is a Senate runoff on Tuesday, the 6th of December, between Herschel Walker, a former football star in Georgia, and Raphael Warnock, the Democratic incumbent in the state. So, just very, very briefly about this. The Senate is already Democratic. It's 50 to 49 Democrats or Republicans. Yeah. The Democrats will win because they have the tie-breaking vote in the Senate because Kamala Harris is the vice president. So they've already won the Senate. So this seat, even if the Republicans win, it doesn't make it. Doesn't mean that the Republicans are suddenly going to have control of both chambers, which is good. In my opinion, that's a really, really good thing. Yeah. The difference between these two candidates was already shocking. Okay, Raphael Warnock is a pastor. He's a pastor at Martin Luther King Jr.'s church. Pastor.
Is he a penne? Is he a spaghetti?
Oh God, here we go. But he's a very gentle, sweet man who genuinely, I believe, wants what's best for his constituents in Georgia. Herschel Walker has paid for multiple women to have abortions, despite the fact that he's signalled that he supports a total abortion ban without any exceptions for rape or incest. Jacob Rees-Mogg is like quaking. He's like, yes.
Yeah. He's taking my brand.
He also apparently threatened his ex-wife at gunpoint because he is another person who has open mental health issues, and we're not making light of those mental health issues at all. But he is physically threatened his wife, and he has he should not, I don't believe, be in this massively privileged position of being one of 100 US senators. And there's an interview of him that came out the other day just before this runoff election with Raphael Warnock, and it's him talking about protecting the country like his house. Just see if you can follow his train of thought on this particular topic.
Secure this border. They said, how are you going to do that? I said, well, I can do it then. You mean put up a wall. A wall do work. Wall working around your house. When you got a wall around your house, people don't they can get in, but you know what? They get in, it'll be hard to get out. Because I got a dog my dog really won't bite, but he's pretty bad anyway. But anyway.
He's got a dog. He doesn't bite, but he's pretty bad anyway. This man is, in my opinion show, utterly unqualified for office, and now that the Senate isn't on the line, Republicans can't even pretend that they're voting in the better candidate. They just have to, I think, vote in the person who genuinely will represent them, even if they don't agree with his ideology, which is if he's Democrat, left wing. But I would say Herschel Walker's really, really a dangerous candidate because of his himself. He couldn't do that much in the position of Senate, but he's just dangerous because having him in the Senate would be massively negative, in my opinion. Okay, so move something very, very light before we finish out the American topic.
Something light and fluffy.
Well, we all Bailey's jackets today.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh my god, go to the Patreon. No, we don't have one.
Yes.
But if anyone who likes gay marriage, so gay people,
what?
The majority of
everyone should.
Yeah, I kind of started that very weirdly.
Anyone who likes
gay marriage
on the floor.
This is all for you gay marriage lovers out there.
This is for you.
Well, the Respect for Marriage Act passed the Senate, which is a big
minimum.
Deal. Bars on the floor to protect something that previously we thought, oh yeah, it's been passed in 2013. Americans can now get married if they're two dudes and two gals. But as we saw earlier this year, that doesn't happen. So of course, with the American system, a Supreme Court ruling sets a precedent. Yeah. And there is an earlier act that did outlaw gay marriage because it did explicitly say that marriage had to be between a man and a woman.
Yep.
This Respect for Marriage Act, which was actually supported with 12 Republicans voting in favour.
Well done to those 12.
Thanks, guys. Well thank you for the right.
Bare minimum. Which, for the record, 38 Republicans voted against it.
Yeah, I love that.
38 Republicans voted against it.
Thanks to the 12.
Voted against making gay marriage a right. Yeah. That's what happened here. That's
Basically,
really clear
what
about
it means is what happens with what happened with Roe v. Wade, it's going to be more difficult to happen. Yeah. It still passes some responsibility onto the state level, so the fight is not over yet, but it is going to go to the House of Representatives. And the likelihood is it will pass through that, and Joe Biden just needs to have his little photo op with
with his lovely pen.
So a couple of things there. The reason that they had to do this is because the Supreme Court is now overturning precedent. So Roe v. Wade has been precedent for about 50 years, and the Supreme Court has started going back through old cases, going nah.
We don't like
we
this
don't
anymore.
Like this act. Even though all the Supreme Court nominees who Trump put on, and this is a direct link to Donald Trump, is that the reason that Roe v. Wade was overturned is because he put 3 Supreme Court justices on the court, and they've given their court a massive right-wing majority of 6-3, and now they're overturning precedent. And there was risk of, because when they overturned Roe v. Wade, when they overturned the women's right to abortion in America, they also said that other rulings, including gay marriage, gay sex, were next. They were basically saying we should look at other precedents we've set as well. So that's why perfect shock to her.
Came to my marriage and I was okay. How sex, dare and I draw the line.
So this is why they had to do this. So that's what the court is currently doing. But 3 of the justices said in their confirmation hearings in the Senate they wouldn't try and overturn precedent, and then here they are.
Oopsie.
But the Supreme Court doesn't have a mechanism for removing Supreme Court justices. They are there now until they choose to resign. So
or die.
Donald Trump's legacy...
Usually die.
His legacy is the Supreme Court. His legacy is the fact that civil liberties in the US will likely be overturned consistently over the next few years.
So his legacy is basically something that will overturn the lives of millions of Americans for ages.
He confirmed as many Supreme Court justices as Obama did in his 8-year term, in his 4-year term. Because he stole 2 seats. He stole one from Obama in the last year of Obama's presidency, and in September of 2020, 2 months before they had an election, which obviously Joe Biden won, he confirmed another justice when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died.
That was...
And I mean, to go back on what we were talking about with abortion, it's the influence that the US has over the world is massive, and so this position of the Supreme Court can have strong effects on the entire world and its policies.
No, exactly. So what's happening in America often is kind of a great massive culture, and it starts happening everywhere else. So abortion rights being in question there means that we all have to start thinking about it and protecting our rights to it. And it's a bare minimum that, linking back to our earlier conversation, that we've put it into our constitution. We're going to put it into our Bill of Rights now. But this is a right that we have to fight for continually. And I think we all need to be aware that this right can go away very quickly, as it did in America, without the popular vote, without us. We don't have to vote for it to go away. We can all agree on it, and it can still go away. Which is what happened there. To play us out here,
jolly.
We're gonna have a little bit.
Happy Friday.
A little bit of Kids in America, and I promise the next bit will be a little bit lighter.
The pressure's on me.
Emily's made a game, and we're all going to judge it harshly.
I'm really excited about it.
Exactly. So see you all in a couple minutes.
This is University Radio Bath.
Hello. Before we move on to our next section, we apparently have some breaking news. So, there's the breaking news alarm. Anyway, what is the breaking news?
Okay, so Adam hasn't seen this news, so I'm going to read you the headline, and you're going to do a live reaction.
Apparently, I'm not allowed to look at my phone.
No. Okay. So this is the breaking news. Sajid Javid to stand down as MP at next election.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Right. That is very interesting.
It is,
that
isn't
shows, I think, in my opinion, on this opinion show, that Sajid Javid knows
he can't be bothered anymore.
Absolutely wiped out, because he's in a relatively safe Conservative seat, and if he's worried for his, why would he stand out? He's quite young. He's quite high up in the Tory party.
He was Health Secretary.
He's got a genuine shot at leadership in the next, 10 months when they do another leadership election, I'm sure. If he's standing down, he is confident that they're going to lose and doesn't want to go through the embarrassment of losing another election.
It also says 11 other sitting Tory MPs are set to quit. I don't know what the rate is, but I'd say that's quite high, especially now. But yeah, okay, so that's the breaking news.
Fantastic. Well, that's good. An opinion show. I don't particularly want a Tory government, and I don't. I'm glad.
It's just significant that an important member of the party just.
If these people start looking like in 2010, lots of veteran Gordon Brown, Tony Blair people were like, I'm not going to stand for election here, because they knew they were going to lose their seat, and they didn't want to go through the humiliation of losing their seat. So it's different if you resign before. So that's what's happened.
Also, I think important to note, it's not just the now popular Tories, it's also not the historical heavyweights. It is also the future of the Tory party that are stepping down.
Yeah, because he's really young, isn't he?
Yeah, he ran for leader twice.
Yeah, he ran.
But you also have Dahana Davison, who was literally she was doing a Liz Truss. She was rocketing up. She was popular. She's young.
That's crazy.
She ticks all the boxes for potential future leader.
She's planning on killing the economy in a month.
Right?
It's already dead.
She's going to outlive
it's good for
lettuce. But she fully has decided to step down at the next general election. And it's absolute... I think it's a sign that there must be something going on inside the Conservative Party. Their internal polling must be hilarious.
Because I think we see public polling, which is obviously public domain and stuff, so we can see all. Parties do their own polling to see what issues they should push for, and if they are seeing polling which is making Sajid Javid go, I'm going to resign and not to run at the next election, it must be bad. It must be as bad as it looks in the public eye, because he's in a relatively safe seat.
Yeah.
And he's also a big name in the Conservative Party. There's a possibility that Boris Johnson's going to lose his seat in the next election, because it's a relatively, as Tory seats go, it's not that safe. Obviously, he's no longer Prime Minister, but...
What?
Yeah, sorry, that...
Since when? Why did no one tell me?
There's been two since. But hopefully there's wipe out for Tories
in
this
other
opinion show.
leaving party news.
Wait, no, not woo.
Well, Ian Blackford has stood down as the leader of the SNP in the House of Commons yesterday.
Emily loves Ian Blackford.
So yes, I quite enjoy his in PMQs.
She does
just him kind of. I just really enjoyed his questions and he'd always have something funny to say, especially to Boris, and it's always good to watch him squirm. So so there have been rumours that he was going to resign since March because of the infighting in the SNP, and then obviously recently the Indy Ref 2 was deemed
we discussed this
illegal?
last week. The UK Supreme Court said that they couldn't do another referendum.
So then also there was some controversy in I think it was 2016 when Ian Blackford was defending MP Patrick Grady, who there was a sexual misconduct case around him, and Ian Blackford just kind of defended it and brushed it under the carpet, and so that's all been dredged back up again. And then people are now saying that this is Nicola Sturgeon. Nicola Sturgeon's been losing control of the SNP for quite a while, and they're now saying that this is getting to the point where it's something she's going to have to do something drastic. Probably resign would be the easiest thing, but I don't think she will.
In my opinion, I love Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah.
I think just to add on to that as well, to do with the Stephen Grady case, he still sits in the Commons. He lost the whip, and that was only after another allegation came out. But also Ian Blackford did suffer from bullying allegations from a former aide himself. So as squeaky clean as we'd like him to be...
No, he's not. He's not.
And it's a very big shame, I think, especially with our... I mean, I'm quite fond of the SNP, especially their sort of stance of how they put Scotland first, pushing for gender reform, and I do think Nicola Sturgeon is at a huge risk at the next general election. Yeah. She's turned into a de facto referendum.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is that because she said this is a de facto referendum, that I think the SNP is going to lose quite a lot of the support.
They're gambling on it, aren't they? Because this is
gamble.
their line. If they win, then they've got that's their point, isn't it? But.
So I know it's quite a heavy episode. There've been a lot of awful men doing awful things.
Not a fun week.
So I thought let's have a fun little game based around Ian Blackford, just to say bye-bye. So the name of the game is it Ian or is it Ian accurate? Wow. Thank you. So I've got 3 questions for everyone. They are facts. You have to tell me whether it's about Ian Blackford, it's a fact about Ian Blackford, or if it's a fact about something else.
This is good. Okay.
If it's a fact about something else, you can try and guess what the is about, okay?
Fantastic.
So, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So ready.
Bailey, I'll start with you. Question 1.
Oh, no. Did you write down question on your document? That is...
Question
I'm so
1.
sorry. Guys. It's a bit A and B politics.
Question 1. He stormed out of his workplace for using the word misled.
Yes.
Ian or Ian accurate?
That's Ian. I know that.
It is Ian. Do you know the circumstances
so
about that?
it was to do with Partygate, and he was saying that Boris Johnson knowingly misled Parliament, and
Yes.
then they were like, Lindsey Graham was, how dare you say that? Or no, he left before he could get told off. He was like, basically ding dong ditching, but to do with the
This was
parliamentary
really cool.
regulations.
I really rated him doing that because it was like, Boris Johnson lied, and the city rules, my opinion, rules of the House of Commons saying so you can't say someone else lied when they did.
When it's not been proved, and then Ian was like, I'm
there
leaving.
Was photos and videos and parties. Anyway. But
well done, you get a point.
Yay!
Okay.
Ian.
Lexi,
Sorry.
is this Ian or is it Ian accurate?
For the record, before, I have absolutely
you don't
no
know
idea what is going on in British
French
politics. It's just going to be my view on British politics, which is quite low, in my opinion. So.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm probably going to think it's true.
Are you ready for the fact?
Go.
He is known for eating berries and fruits when they are in season.
Ooh. Is that inaccurate?
Ian or Ian accurate?
He doesn't strike me as the man that would eat berries, so I'd say inaccurate.
It is Ian accurate.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is not Ian Blackford. This is a blackbird.
Why do you think he's not a man that eats fruit or berries?
You know what? Just seeing his picture and hearing that him, I'm like, he doesn't eat berries.
Can we give
he has lambs and he
I'm going to you next.
Like slaughters the lambs and he will eat the lambs that he raises.
See? Lambs, not berries.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we really
Adam.
quickly, before Emily asks a question, we gave a chronology of the game. I came up with the rights game, and then Emma was like texting me like last night saying, I've got an Ian game, and I was like, okay, we'll just go for it.
We're doing my Ian.
None of us have any idea what this is, apart from this is.
And I think it's amazing. Okay, Adam.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Is this Ian? Is it Ian accurate? His height is between 0.07 metres and 2.45 metres.
It must be between them, yeah. That's real. It must be between them.
It's a trick question. It is a fact about Ian, because he probably is. But
what?
I don't know how tall Ian Blackford is, so and I couldn't go measure him yesterday. I didn't have time, so I'm assuming. I was bombarding him on Twitter. I got blocked. No, so yes, he probably is between 7 millimeters and 2.45. But this is both Ian and the River Roke at Blackford Bridge.
Oh wow.
It's near Manchester.
How much time did this take you?
Quite a while. Bailey,
Yes.
is this Ian? Is it Ian accurate? He compared Boris to Monty Python's Black Knight, running around declaring that it was a flesh wound.
I know that was said, and I don't know if it was Ian, because I feel like he probably would have gone with a more Scottish reference. He probably would have been like, "Ah, you like a haggis? I know it, Dad. You have to make a cut."
That was pretty good.
I'm going to say...
Ian accurate.
I'm going to say it's Ian accurate.
You're wrong, it's Ian.
Oh.
He did say it. It was about when all the MPs were resigning. So that's the context. Lexi, question 2 to you. Is this an Ian or Ian accurate quote?
Oh.
It is a lamb. That's the whole quote.
Wow.
It is a lamb.
Has he ever
It's a
said
lamb.
it is a lamb?
It is
in
a lamb.
his life?
Full stop.
Lamb is an L-A-M-B.
B.
Oh.
Baby sheep.
Well, I'll say yes.
Yeah,
It
you're
is
correct.
Ian.
It is Ian. Someone saw a photo of him holding a sheep, and they asked him what breed of dog it was, and he said it was a lamb. There you go. Adam.
Hello.
Question 2 to you.
Oh.
He married a yeoman.
A yeoman?
A yeoman.
I don't think that's right. That's Ian accurate.
No, it is Ian. His wife is called Anne Yeoman.
Thank you for that.
How do you feel about that? This is the dregs of the game. Okay, I've got one more question for everyone before Adam loses the will to live.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's too late.
Okay, Bailey. This is an Ian Blackford quote from a speech about Scottish independence. Is it Ian or Ian accurate? You ready? Yeah. I want a wife and children and grow crops, but it's all for nothing if you don't have freedom.
I think that's inaccurate.
Yes, that's correct.
It was too nice of the quote to be from him.
It's a quote from Braveheart.
Yeah.
I got really stuck on like William Wallace. But yeah, okay.
I can imagine him though in like the Scottish Highlands, bare-chested face. Yes, it's for my wife and my lambs back home.
Yeah. Okay, Lexi, you ready?
So ready.
Okay, he is a millionaire.
I really hope not. I'm gonna say it's Ian accurate.
That's incorrect. He is a millionaire. He
really
was an investment. A million. He was an investment banker in the city before he moved up and bought a farm. So, yeah. Okay, Adam.
That's a shame.
Hello.
This is the. I can't remember the points. I do have a tie break, but
I am
anyway.
at 2 points.
Yeah, Adam, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
He is travelling down a snowy mountainous range at a speed.
He is.
Yep.
Right now.
Yep.
I don't think he is.
No, that is Ian accurate. Because this is not Ian. This is skiing.
How are you going to end it like that?
When I tell you that whole game was conducted around my invention of the word skiing. Genuinely.
It all makes sense now.
There you go. That's the game. I do have a tie break. Anyone interested?
Yeah, we're 2 and 2.
Tie break.
Okay, how many does it? It doesn't matter.
Everyone has 2.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
He has the pain of skiing.
Yeah, I do. I'm done.
Okay. Are you ready for the tie break? He was first introduced to the world in 1908.
No. That's inaccurate.
Lexi, what do you think?
I'm going to go for Ian accurate as well.
Yeah, no, that wasn't Ian Blackford. That was just a black Ford.
Wow.
Very
and on that note, that's the end of the game.
Fantastic.
So I win because I said it first.
Coincidentally.
Yeah.
I think you're all losers because
you had to listen to skiing.
Genuinely, that was where the game came from. Was
oh my god.
Skiing.
I feel like the next game should be just seeing where you're going with your puns.
It's the last time Emily
I'm not sure I'm allowed to speak ever again.
No, this is it. Thank you all for listening today.
I hope you enjoyed the game.
If anyone actually managed to listen live, but if not, you might be hearing this on podcast form. If you are listening to a podcast, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, where Emily recently got banned for bullying Matt Hancock.
No, I think it was what I said about Bath Spa.
Oh, that might be it. But thank you.
It was worth it.
It was a really good tweet. So follow us on A&E Politics on Instagram and Twitter. And I hope you enjoyed.
And if you did
show.
like the game, please do email, send letters to Adam and tell him that.
I only accept letters. I don't.
To let me come up with more games, because I think I'll be banned from games.
I'll take a poll and we'll see if she's allowed to come back on next week.
I just want to say, what's everyone got planned for the winter holidays? Is anyone going skiing?
No.
It's
fun to say.
Unacceptable.